This is Newsom on X. He posted this, and it shows you the level that he's at, where he's suggesting the president has dementia.
You're not saying you think Republicans are going to stop it?
I don't think Donald Trump wants another election. You think for a second I have 24 Trump 2028 hats.
The political duel between President Donald Trump and California Governor Gavin Newsom is more than just a typical partisan rivalry. It is a clash of two of the most prominent and media-savvy figures in their respective parties. Welcome viewers to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. On this particular day, the setting for their latest skirmish was a formal cabinet meeting in the White House. But what might have been a routine briefing quickly became a theatrical performance, a stage for Trump to engage in a familiar and well-rehearsed act, creating a hero-villain narrative with himself at the center. In his characteristic style, Trump veered off script. With a cadence that has become instantly recognizable to the American public, he began to spin a tale of heroic intervention thwarted by political malice. The narrative was built on a series of stunningly specific and detailed lies. He claimed his administration had sent hundreds of millions of gallons of water per day to California, a claim as absurd as it was false. The use of hundreds of millions was a calculated choice, designed to convey a massive, almost incomprehensible scale of aid. He spoke of a valve that was deliberately turned away from the state, preventing the flow of this imagined lifeline. He even added a layer of personal triumph, asserting, "I actually had to do it using force," a dramatic touch that positioned him as a decisive leader overcoming bureaucratic red tape. The target of this narrative was Governor Newsom, whom Trump consistently referred to with the derogatory nickname, Newscum. This tactic is a cornerstone of Trump's rhetorical style. The name, a portmanteau of Newsom and scum, is meant to delegitimize and dehumanize his opponent in the eyes of his supporters. It is a way to reduce a complex political figure to a simple, easily digestible insult, making him a caricature of incompetence and corruption. In this invented drama, Trump cast himself as the savior and Newsom as the antagonist, a malevolent figure who, for some inexplicable reason, was deliberately letting his state burn. He urged the governor to turn the rest of the water on, a plea that, within the fabricated context, sounded like a reasonable demand but was, in reality, a complete non sequitur. This public performance was a textbook example of disinformation, where false information is intentionally created and disseminated. Trump's lie was not a simple mistake or a misstatement of fact. It was a carefully constructed narrative designed to serve a political purpose, to absolve his administration of any perceived inaction during a national crisis and to paint his political opponent in the worst possible light. The lie was so grand and so theatrical that it demanded attention, forcing the media and the public to either accept the fiction or engage in the time-consuming process of debunking it. While President Trump was telling his story from the comfort of the White House, the reality on the ground in California was grim and devoid of such theatrical drama. Firefighters were battling blazes that consumed tens of thousands of acres, but the challenges they faced were rooted in hydrology and logistics, not political sabotage. They were indeed confronted with depleted water supplies and low water pressure, but these were the natural consequences of a devastating drought and an overwhelmed infrastructure. The core of Trump's claim, that a water restoration declaration would have unlocked a spigot of life-saving water, was a complete and total fabrication. Newsom's office was quick to clarify that no such document exists. This was not a bureaucratic snafu, it was a pure fiction. Furthermore, the geographical and engineering realities of California's water system make Trump's entire narrative an impossibility. The state's water is supplied by a complex and vast network of reservoirs, aqueducts, and canals that transport water from the north to the arid south. There is no connection from the Pacific Northwest to California's system, and even if there were, the water would be saltwater and useless for firefighting. To prove his point, Trump did, in fact, order the Army Corps of Engineers to release billions of gallons of water. This action, however, was a symbolic gesture of the highest order. The water released from dams at Lake Kauai and Lake Success did not flow to the firefighting zones. Instead, it was directed into a dry lakebed in California's Central Valley. This action, which was widely reported at the time, was a demonstration of the administration's intent to appear helpful without actually providing any aid. Experts and engineers were quick to point out the absurdity and futility of the act. The topography of the region and the lack of a suitable delivery system meant the water would simply dissipate into the air or be absorbed by the parched ground. The billions of gallons of water, released with great fanfare, were ultimately a waste, serving no purpose other than to create a narrative that could be spun for political gain. Governor Gavin Newsom's response was not a conventional one. As a politician who understands the modern media landscape, he knew that simply issuing a press release was not enough to counter a viral falsehood. He chose a method that was both technologically savvy and deeply insulting. After reposting the clip of Trump's rant on X, formerly Twitter, for a wider audience, he delivered his most pointed blow, a screenshot of an interaction with Elon Musk's AI chatbot, Grok. This was a deliberate and calculated choice. By using a tool associated with a platform that Trump himself frequently uses, Newsom was not just making an attack but also turning Trump's own technological ecosystem against him. The screenshot was a masterclass in modern political communication. Newsom's query to the chatbot was a direct, yet seemingly innocent, question: do people with dementia repeat false things over and over again? The AI's response was detached and authoritative, lending the weight of science to Newsom's political barb. The chatbot's reply was damning. Yes, people with dementia can repeat false statements or beliefs, a behavior often linked to memory impairments and cognitive changes. The response went further, defining two key psychological terms that are directly applicable to Trump's public behavior: confabulation and perseveration. Confabulation is the act of creating false memories to fill in gaps in recollection, a behavior that aligned perfectly with Trump's fabricated narrative about the Water Restoration Declaration. Perseveration is the fixation on a particular idea or statement, which is a hallmark of Trump's rhetorical style. By using this screenshot, Newsom did not just call out Trump's lie. He framed it within a potential medical context. He used a seemingly neutral, technological source to imply that Trump's behavior was not just politically motivated but possibly a sign of cognitive decline. This was a brutal and personal attack that went far beyond the typical partisan bickering. It signaled a new era in political warfare, where AI tools can be used to deliver highly personal and damaging blows, leveraging technology to bypass traditional media and go straight to the public. It was a highly effective maneuver that instantly shifted the conversation from the details of the water crisis to the more profound and uncomfortable question of the president's mental fitness. The fallout from this exchange was immediate and predictable, yet it revealed a deeper truth about the state of American politics. The Trump campaign's spokesperson, in a familiar pattern, dismissed Newsom's actions, claiming that Newsom will say anything to distract from his terrible handling of the California wildfires. This response, however, was a perfect example of a non-denial denial. It addressed the personal attack but completely ignored the substance of the claims. The exchange was not just a partisan feud, it was a microcosm of a larger political reality where facts are no longer a shared currency. In this new paradigm, political battles are waged not on policy but on competing narratives, where a captivating lie often trumps a tedious truth. This incident also serves as a landmark moment in the history of political communication. It illustrates how the advent of new technologies, particularly social media platforms and AI, has fundamentally changed the way politicians interact with each other and the public. Newsom's use of Grok was a pioneering move that will likely be emulated by future campaigns. It shows that in a hyper-polarized environment, a single, well-crafted image or a viral screenshot can be more effective than a 100-page policy document. This type of political warfare is highly effective because it bypasses traditional journalistic gatekeepers and goes directly to the audience, where it is shared and amplified by algorithms that prioritize engagement over accuracy. The legacy of the Trump-Newsom water war is a sobering one. It is a powerful reminder that in the age of disinformation, political battles are no longer confined to the debate floor or the press room. They are fought on our screens, in our social feeds, and increasingly, in the minds of our fellow citizens.